The Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Financial Survival Network is presented to you by Regal Assets. Buy and sell physical gold and silver through your existing retirement plan, 100% tax-free with Regal Assets. If you want to include physical gold or silver in your existing IRA or old 401k, request your free investment kit, which was recently featured in the Forbes and Smart Money Wall Street Journal magazines. Call toll-free 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620, or visit regalassets.com. Starting a new weekly feature, the person I'm going to introduce to you, somebody I've met through various professional affiliations. Her name's Diana Zoppa. She has been working with the Daily Bell, one of the foremost libertarian websites in the world, out of Switzerland. She's got an amazing story to tell, and she's wired into everything that I think you want to hear. You want to hear about how libertarianism works, you want to hear about how socialism fails, and you want to hear what you can do about what's happening in the world, how you protect yourself and your family. Diana's been doing that. Diana.
Hi, Carrie. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, well, I just thought that when I heard your story and the way that you've gotten into this area of the media, that we needed to do a show together.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm very excited to participate.
And it's really great to have you on. You mentioned to me that your father was a silver coin collector and that he had a big impact on your life in that regard. Tell us, what's the story behind that?
Well, yes, my father did collect coins always, and they were always handed over to, I have 3 siblings, and so our weekly allowance was some sort of a silver coin, save it. He ended up saving it, of course, because, we'd be rushing to the candy store if it was possible. But anyways, the idea that we would receive a silver coin, over the years, he has still saved them, and every time he comes to visit me, he's got a bag full, and I think he just continues to collect them along the way and pass them on. And, his intention is, the same as many from his generation, that he understands and did understand that, the government was debasing the money and that you have to have gold and silver backing your currency. Yeah. He knows that value and he's passed that along.
So this is just another case of the older you get, the smarter your parents get, huh?
Well, I guess that can be part of it. But of course, my own education has made some major changes towards that. And I feel that, the last 5-6 years of my involvement in this industry, my husband is in the mining industry, gold and silver in particular. And I have been very awakened about what is really happening in the world about currency. And silver, gold has always been money. It's all through history. It's always been money. Government have always tried to debase it. And so here we are in the year of 2012 with, absolutely no gold and silver of any kind in our currency other than what people hold. And people need to understand that it needs to be a part of our everyday lives again.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting in that your father told you that from a young age. And I guess you're Canadian. And in America, we just kind of shrugged off when they switched the coins in circulation from silver to, as David Morgan calls it, the Johnson slugs, which are a copper nickel cladded coin that has virtually little or no intrinsic value. We just shrugged it off. But I remember the day that I found out about it, my brother came into the kitchen all excitedly and he said, they're taking the silver out of the coins. And I'm like 5 or 6 years old. And he takes he's got a handful of quarters of the silver ones and he drops them on the floor and they sound really solid. They ring. And then he drops the new ones, the 1965 quarters, and they sounded tinny and hollow and not worth anything, just the sound. And that kind of led me to where I'm at today, where espousing the value of real money and that you need to acquire real money because this paper stuff could be gone in the wink of an eye. So it's kind of interesting that we both wound up in a similar place from similar events in a way.
Mm-hmm. And, just talking about, what the difference of how a coin sounds, I remember that very same discussion, with our family and learning that, that this was going to be a changeover in time. And of course, you didn't, being the age that we were, didn't understand really what that implication meant at the time. And as we've gotten older and learned that a dollar bill is not the value of a silver dollar that it used to be, you just start to start to realize that the industry and the currency situation has radically become in the control of the government, and that the government debasement continues all through time, and they will do whatever it takes to continue to debase it as we move through history. And now we're into a place where it's not going to stop. I mean, or it's, to the idea to go back to a gold standard is probably not realistic at this point, but I certainly think that if the dollar collapses or if it gets to that point, you're going to see a lot more barter, and people are going to use small items. I mean, do not give away your mom's silver. Do not give away any, jewelry, any kind of silver jewelry or gold jewelry. Keep that and keep those in places where if things do collapse, you're going to have a bit of a resource to use.
Yeah, I think that's really essential. Actually, I have a friend who runs a check cashing operation, and a major part of his business is buying gold and silver at steeply discounted prices. And I just say to him, why do people sell this? And he says, they need the money. And I guess that's it. They don't view it as money.
Yeah. Well, I think that the barter system will become more and more prevalent in these next few years. We're going to see, and I'm sure people are doing it already. And of course, I mean, money and currency, the value of it is based on whatever two parties deem currency to be. If you're selling bread and I'm cutting hair and we deem that as an exchange, then that's a currency exchange. And I think that, I think one of the last free markets that really exist in the world today, or one of the only free markets that exist in that sense, is, the drug world.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, right? I mean, they're out there, they set the price, they do whatever. I mean, there's no regulation on it, which of course is another whole conversation.
It's funny you mentioned that any black market is a free market effectively because it's free of government control, but it's affected by the government's declaring whatever it is illegal so that there's a risk involved, and then the profits derive from the risk that the government imposes on that market because cocaine might sell for $1,000 a pound in Bolivia where there's no enforcement, and it'll sell for whatever the price is in the States here. And the whole differential in that price, it isn't that any value got added to it. It's just that the drug distribution cartel or company is getting rewarded for the risk that they're willing to take of going to jail or getting into a gunfight with other gangs or law enforcement. So it's interesting, though, that all black markets are unregulated, and the pricing there, you have true price discovery, unlike in our legal markets that we have now that are totally rigged and manipulated. As Ed Steer said to me yesterday when I was interviewing him from Casey Research, he said, all the markets are a total rig job. Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah, it is. And so people like us are out here, we're trying to educate on a grassroots level, which I think is the key to getting people to realize that this is the reality. And I think that, things are becoming more transparent, but, are people really caring is the next. It comes down to a human spirit, and what does it take for people to realize that they have to get to a moral level where they understand this is really what's going on, and to make that change and to stand in a place and say, okay, I'm not going to accept this anymore, and let's get moving forward so that we can start to better our lives.
For sure. And I have a new sponsor called Regal Assets, and the president of Regal Assets, this guy, Tyler Gallagher. I had this exact conversation with him. When are people going to wake up? What are you going to do? When are you going to become aware of how corrupt the system is, that it's stealing from you, that it's draining your wealth away and effectively giving your wealth to the wealthy? And he said, you'll become aware when the system stops working and you have to. That's the majority of the population. They're just not going to do it otherwise, are they?
No. And I would like to think that people are trying to make themselves better on a regular basis. In my life, I work a number of different elements. And of course, finance and economics are and can be some of the most boring discussions that there are for many. But you won't be that bored when you don't have any money.
All of a sudden, they'll be interested, huh?
All of a sudden, there's going to be a major concern there. And I think people are starting to, and this isn't a joke or a laughing matter. I mean, this is, reality is starting to happen, that our dollar is so debased and becoming so valueless. And so why does it cost $5 to buy a loaf of bread? I mean, it's not that it takes anything different to create that, or that, the costs associated with it are different. It's because the dollar is worth less. And so it buys less. And so, so many people are going to feel that coming up, and many people are already. And so how do you protect yourself? And I think this, brings us back to the earlier conversation. How do you protect yourself from understanding that you have to, saving money, of course, is one way. Saving your money is something that not everybody does in our Western environment, but that's
less and less all the time.
Because there's less too. But I guess, it's understanding that you have to live within your means, and living beyond your means is just such a Western philosophy in the last 20, 30 years. And I feel that, we could have lived in our time. Both of us we're baby boomers. And so we've seen all kinds of greatness in America. And I think we're on the tipping point of something a little bit different for the next 20 or 30 years.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And when you talk about waking people up, trying to get them to understand, I think your work at the Daily Bell probably instrumental in waking up a lot of people around the world. Just how did you get into that, and how'd you wind up working with the Bell? Well,
it was a partnership that was established. My husband and the directors of the Bell were in business in different projects, mining in particular, and Anthony Weil, who is the founder of the Daily Bell, was looking for different people in marketing. And my background is marketing and project management. And so I said wholeheartedly that I was very interested to be involved. And of course, in communications. And he offered me a position to work, in interview assistant, basically. And that meant, running the interview department at the Bell. And so we targeted lists of, names and different people that we were interested to interview. And then I started the process. I've been working with them for over 4 years now. And it completely has changed my life, my opinion about the world. And it brought some real realizations about why I understand now. I am a bit, not that I don't like to use the term rebellious too much, but I definitely have some ideas about the world that were answered very clearly when I got and realized I was a libertarian. And so it took 5 or 6 years to really put this under my belt and realize that this is the direction. And all of a sudden, a lot of answers came into place.
So how long have you been working with the Bell?
Since May, June 2008. And
so we're looking 4 years then, huh?
Mm-hmm. And that was the inception of the interview segment. The Bell itself started with basically the idea that we would take 2 or 3 pieces of mainstream media and give a free market analysis and then discussion and opinion, if you will, with a conclusion. And the Bell was incepted, basically went to Switzerland, and it was all started in Switzerland and remains there as a international publication, and had the experience of living there and understanding we were saying the last, bastions of freedom, basically Switzerland, although things have changed in their direction the past few years too. But having said that, it was an opportunity to big adventure, and coming from Canada and living in Canada. My husband is actually his mom is American, and so he grew up in the United States, spent a lot of time there. And so off we went, and we're very lucky to have that experience. And to live abroad, of course, is something that not everybody gets to do, but was a really fun experience to do that.
And the Bell has really grown a lot in the past 4 years. I mean, I call it the Bell, thedailybell.com. It's really grown, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we started off a number of different targeting. Everybody had sort of their lists and friends, and just started to get it out there, and then started to market through a couple of different organizations through the United States. And as we started to build with the interviews, I mean, basically, when we speak to people and the interviews, we ask people to, of course, carry it on their site, distribute it to their network, and so on and so on, style of marketing. And that's how it's grown over the years. And of course, we've interviewed numerous geopolitical academics, all kinds of trend forecasters, and different, very interesting people. There's a lot of information there. The Bell itself is an education. You could spend years there because they've identified definitions and just different people, and pretty much everyone who's come on. I've only had a couple of people that disagreed with a few of the definitions, but primarily it's very well researched. The editors are extremely educated, and in the sense of the free markets and understanding the operations of the world, if you will. And it's an amazing publication, in my opinion, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah, and it's extremely well written. So besides me, who you interviewed, who was your most interesting or fascinating subject on there? Tough question, I know, but somebody must stand out.
There's, I can't. I mean, when you say, who stands out the most, I mean, David Icke and Jordan Maxwell, who are, real existentialists, I mean, are still to this day, two of my favorite interviews, even though I guess just because they are not completely all along the lines of the political, economic, topic continually. They have a different story to tell. And of course, I've always enjoyed G. Edward Griffin and our time together. I really enjoyed, I enjoyed the judge when we spoke, because some of them, we do them in different formats. Sometimes I speak with them and record our conversations and transcribe. Oftentimes they're written. And so, I've had the opportunity to sort of pick and choose. And I find that, people that I haven't had the chance to meet yet, I like to take the time to actually, make the phone recording and have the opportunity to speak with them. I interviewed Gerald Celente just the other day, and this is the second time that I've interviewed him. And I find Gerald to be an extremely fabulous person. He's come full circle with his career, in a sense. I mean, he gets the idea that that human nature is just what it's all about. And, he's very community driven and very decentralized driven. And I think that this is going back to my own philosophy that, it's got to come, education and change has to come from a real grassroots level, on a moral value level. And he is there. And he's a very good speaker. And so just, my most recent with him was very, very entertaining. It hasn't actually been released yet. And we're saving it for a September issue.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. And you're holding an event in the not too distant future. And I think you said he's going to be there. That's
right. I live in Vancouver in British Columbia. And
Which is a great city, by the way. Great city. And you're hearing that from a New Yorker, so I'm jaded. So that's a real compliment.
Well, for some people who don't know where it is, Vancouver is about 2-hour drive north of Seattle on the West Coast. And I'm very fortunate to live up in West Van, and we have a forest, and I've got creeks here, and there's bears running around in my yard, and deer. And I mean, you might think that it's, the Great White North to a degree, but it is in a sense. But I mean, Vancouver is a thriving, 3 million person metropolis, but there's just so many great areas to live that you can still get away from, the urban environment. But the event that I'm working on is an event called the Seed Event. It's like planting seeds, and the Seed Foundation, Production Foundation, is based in Calgary, and I actually partnered with them this year for this event, and it's an all-day speaking event, and we have an interesting lineup. It's a very mixed lineup, and the reason they decided to take the project was exactly for that reason. So we've got Deepak Chopra as the headliner, and Adam Dreamhealer is also with us, and he is a molecular biologist and doctor. He believes that you can heal yourself in any way, shape, or form by understanding that we are electric and that your molecules exist within you, of course, and that you bring your mind to that level and you can heal yourself within any issue that may be bothering you. So he's an interesting person. And then we have David Wolf, who is the raw food expert out of Los Angeles, and Gerald Salente from New York, who will be calling himself, his topic is basically the future as we know it. And he calls himself a political atheist. And so he brings a very interesting dynamic to the whole event because, this event is about wellness and well-being and understanding where you are at a specific level. And everybody's at different places. And so he's an interesting element. So it's a full day event. It's 12 hours of back-to-back speakers. We have a marketplace where we have a number of sponsors with very unique products. We're still looking for sponsors if anyone's interested to come on board. And we have an organic cafe, and so it's at the Peony Forum. We're transforming the Peony Forum, and it's going to be a very unique day for the Vancouver group.
It sounds like a great event, and definitely looking forward to it. So people want to find out more about you, Diana, and the event that you're holding. Where would they go?
They can find out information at Zoppa Media Group or theseedevent.org.
All right. Well, hey, it sounds great. And we got our first show under our belts. Next week's going to be even better. Diana, we'll talk to you again next week.
That sounds great, Carrie. Thank you.
Thank you.